Hey y'all, in this video I want to take a look at some 3D printing companies. And so I did a little bit of research and I found 5 of the top 3D printing companies. There's a 3D printing ETF that focuses mostly on software and other uh, suppliers, but not necessarily the companies that produce the printers or the filaments. So I did a little digging around, and we have Proto Labs, 3D Systems, Stratasys, Materialize, and Desktop Metal with their respective ticker symbols up here. And then we're going to look at some of their key fundamentals here using macro trends and find out which ones are worth taking a deeper look into. So here I selected the net income, and we can see Proto Labs, Materialize, and 3D Systems have been profitable these last couple quarters, with only Proto Labs being consistently profitable looking back several years over the past decade. And so we'll look at the revenue, and we can see Stratasys, 3D Systems, and Proto Lab with the highest revenue and experiencing revenue growth back here in 2015, but kind of sloping off or being stagnant over the past 7 or so years, and Proto Lab increasing market share here. I want to look at research and development expenses, and we see that Desktop Metal is beginning to spend more on research and development. Stratasys leading for quite a few years, and 3D Systems shortly behind. Now I want to look at their debt, long-term debt, and we see 3D Systems with the highest debt load here. Stratasys and Proto Labs with zero debt for quite some time. Materialize, the other company holding debt. Now I want to look at their cash on hand. Here we have 3D Systems with the most cash on hand as of lately. Maybe they issued stock, we're not sure. Stratasys behind them, and Proto Lab with very little cash on hand. But keep in mind that these companies don't have long-term debt, with the exception of, I believe, Stratasys. It was. No. It's 3D Systems that has the debt. So I'm going to go back to the net income, because at the bottom line, you need the company to be profitable. So we'll take a look at 3D Systems for sure, Proto Labs, Materialize, and we're also going to take a look at, what do I have up here? We're going to take a look at 3D Systems, Proto Labs, Stratasys, and Materialize. So I'm going to click over here. First, we're going to go through Stratasys as the first quarter 2022 financial results here that we have pulled up. First quarter revenue of 163 million, 22% revenue growth over first quarter 2021, so year over year, and the highest first quarter revenue in 6 years. They do have a GAAP and net loss of 20.9 million. 475 million cash and equivalents and no debt. Let's see here. I want to see. Here's their guidance. So full year revenue of 685 million to 695 million. Sequential quarterly revenue growth. Second quarter revenue growth expected to reach low to mid-teens as a percentage over second quarter. So they're still expecting year-over-year revenue growth. Very low to mid-teens. but still growth. And so the full year gross margins will be flat or just very slightly higher than 2021, and that's due to logistics and material costs, and improve year-over-year growth in the second half of 2022. I don't know if that means that the conditions will be improving, or if the second half of 2021 was not too good, which would result in better comparison. And full year operating expenses that are $20 to $25 million higher than 2021. And that's due to ongoing investments in new products. Okay, so that's all right, because their research and development is going to be paying off. Let's see, GAAP net loss of $74 million, which is pretty significant. It's going to be $1.11 per diluted share. Let's see. Let's look at their, here we go, their sheet. Let's see. So cash equivalents increase. What is this? Quarter over quarter. Total assets declined. No, here we go. Total assets. Yeah, total assets declined quarter over quarter. Current liabilities also declined. And let's see here. Here we go. This is year over year results here. So revenue increased 30 million. Cost of sales increased 10, 12, 13 million. Research and development increased by about 3 million. And same with selling, general, and administrative expenses. Net loss increased by 2 million. But the loss per share stayed the same because they actually created more shares here, as we can see. And so with their additional cash on hand or improved assets, we could attribute that to their issuing of new shares. So if you invest in this company, it looks like they are operating at a loss, but also diluting you as a shareholder. And so we have a couple to get through, so let's go ahead and jump over to 3D Systems, and we'll try to run through this one pretty quickly. Their revenue looks like year over year decreased, operating loss increased, and let's see. I want to see straight to the balance sheet, please. And this is going to be quarter over quarter. Cash equivalents went down nearly in half. Total assets decreased by about 50 million. Total liabilities decreased. Long-term debt stayed about the same. Let's see, revenue decreased. Research and development did increase by about 5 million. The net income, or the loss, they lost almost 30 million this quarter. And compared to last year, they posted 45 million in profit, or 37 cents per share. However, if we look at their revenue here and look at their total operating expenses, actually, hold on, let's see, there was something. I want to say I looked at this, let's see. Here we we go. Interest and other expense income. What is... So, let's see. They have gross profit just about the same here, right? That's off by $11 million or so. Similar expenses under the operating expenses, as we see here, 66 million compared to 77 million. They have this loss from operations of 23 million here, or 1,000 here. So technically this should have been a loss this quarter, but their interest and other expense income, 38 million, and here it's a loss. And so the income before taxes was elevated. And so what resulted in this interest and other expense income? Maybe an investment paid off, maybe they issued shares and the price of the shares were elevated above, I'm not sure. But this isn't a sustainable number, so this technically shouldn't have been a profit here for this quarter. This should have been a loss of just a couple cents, because here we see the loss from operations. So this quarter was pretty much an accounting trick to come in profitable. So when you look at the PE ratio for the company, it's going to look better than it should be. And we could look back at previous quarters and see if that's a consistent practice. And we could look into why that is. But just know that they were on track to lose this quarter. So that's going to elevate their PE ratio. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one. I'm looking for one of these companies to be investable for the current quarter. So looking forward, we know which 3D printing company we can invest in and feel confident about. So Materialize is reporting in, I don't know what this revenue is, European currency here. I'm going to scroll down to their balance sheet. It's going to be a euro, looks like. So we have... okay, so it's going to convert it to dollars for us here for the current quarter. But we can look here to see year over year between these two for the March 31st quarter ended. So revenue growth of maybe 7 million. Hold on, in thousands. Okay, so 7 million euro. Gross profit up slightly. Here's the profit margin, which is pretty good. Research and development increased. Let's see. Operating profit is down quite significantly. We are in tens of thousands of dollars here, $49,000 compared to 290,000 last year. Loss before taxes. So this resulted in quite a hefty loss here before taxes, and this resulted in a gain before taxes. However, we see here that the operating margin was smaller this year. So financial income, similar to what we saw with 3D Systems, we see a financial income elevating the quarterly result, which this one should have been a loss as well. And so earnings per share, they're reporting at $0 per share earnings and a 7-cent share loss last quarter. But this should also be a loss if they didn't have this financial income, maybe from investments or something else. And then they did also create more shares here. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this one as well. Let's look at Proto Labs. This one, if you remember here, the net income, they've pretty consistently reported a positive net income. So let's see if there's any tricks here, or if this is a company we could invest in. So here we go, quarter over quarter. Less cash and cash equivalents. Total assets did increase a couple million. Let's see. Total liabilities increase as well, 2 million. And moving on, revenue increased by about 8 million. Gross profit roughly the same. Net income just about the same here, which is what we might expect. Total operating expenses did fall. It looks like they spent less on research and development, tightened up their general administrative expenses, slightly increased their marketing sales expenses, and income from operation was profitable. $300,000 net loss that they don't detail out here. And then income before taxes, 7 million. Provision for income tax, 2.5 million, with a net income of $5 million, which is going to be 19 cents per share compared to 14 cents the previous quarter. And they did print some new shares, but not too many. Just 40,000 new shares. And so yeah, they seem to be consistently profitable here. Let's see. Okay, so they're consistently profitable, as we could see. No tricks. So now I would like to pull up their presentation, their most recent presentation. Let's see. Okay, this is their most recent presentation here. We have Proto Labs. Let's see, gonna skip a little. Revenue increased 6.9% year over year. EPS decline year over year of 4.5%. And they cite labor and material cost inflation continues. Financial highlights, we have the revenue increase quarter over quarter. Non-GAAP EPS decrease 8%. And let's see. Injection molding revenue is down. 3D printing revenue up 14%. Sheet metal revenue down 10%. CNC machining revenue up 26%. And then their services detailed out. And by region here, increase in the Americas, increase in Europe, increase in Japan, total increase year over year. And then here's the percentage of their markets. Americas being number one pretty significantly, followed by Europe and Japan. Let's see. All right, we've seen all this. I'm hoping that they can get into, they don't really detail out. I was hoping that they would kind of introduce the company, but now that we have identified the most reliable of the 3D printing companies, we'll do a deep dive into Proto Labs and do an introduction and follow up on their next quarterly result, see how they're doing over time. All right, thanks.